Now let's take a look at servicing our base unit. To get a good look at our base unit, we should always remove the base plate, which covers the left hand side of the base. To do this, we need to remove 4 Phillips head screws. We have 2 larger ones towards the front and 2 smaller ones in the rear. It's always important to remove this plate. A lot of times people do not, because let's face it, extra screws on the table is bad. But it's important to do this because when you're sewing, lint collects inside the machine, and usually gravity works and lint falls down. And that means it's probably going into the base with whatever else, pins, lint, little beads, whatever it could be. So it's very important to go into here and to clean out this area. Now we lift off the base plate and we can see that we have our telescopic arm that we can now see. We have our belt that moves left to right, and we have our shafts that need to be cleaned and oiled as well. Now we also always want to clean underneath our step motor areas and always take care of those gears. You can see that we cannot move the carriage arm left to right or in or out. The step motors control the movement of this. So for us to be able to move it and to test it while servicing, we must remove the step motor. And in this case, we're removing the X step motor, which makes it move left to right. Now you can unplug this step motor and always clean out the gear on the bottom of the step motor. A lot of times it could collect lint. Now that you have removed that, you can take the arm and move it all the way to the left and back to the right. We can still not move it in or out. That is because the Y step motor is still connected to the machine. If you removed it, you can move it in or out. And we can always test it and see how it moves. Now let's reconnect our X step motor. And you want to make sure that you seat it in properly. Always take a look at the wires. You got to make sure that the wires are not going to get stuck underneath the step motor. A lot of times if the wire gets stuck underneath and you screw it back in, as soon as you turn it on you will get a little puff of smoke and you'll probably blow the step motor as well as the A board. Now you don't want to push it too tight into the gear because it would make the arm a little bit noisy. So just kind of keep it in the middle and screw it in. Now what we want to do is we want to test our X and Y sensors. Let's say our template is not lining up properly. So instead of going through the whole rigmarole of putting the machine back on there, screwing it in, taking it off, and testing everything, what we can do is we can loosen the little white clip that holds our 2 wire groupings, the white plug and the blue plug, and this will give us the extra length needed for us to reach towards the machine. And by doing this, we can plug the blue plug back in and the white plug back in as well. Anytime that we make any sort of adjustment to a machine, you have to be able to turn it on first. So now that we have this, we can take our power cord and we're going to plug it in. It's always important that the machine must initialize. Otherwise, we have no idea what we're going to adjust. So we'll plug it in and we'll turn it on. Now the machine will take a couple seconds to boot up, but when it does, you will see the carriage arm move. And the carriage arm sets itself into its position, or the position that the A board is telling it to go into, controlled by the sensors that are on the base. We can see our Y sensor and our X sensor at the top there. If it was not correct or we need to make an adjustment, you would have to move the sensors themselves. If your template's not lining up, you either move it up or down to make sure that it's going to line up properly. Now one way you can test is grab a 2.5 hex and you want to measure the bottom of the telescopic arm as it's in, and we should have about a 2.5 clearance. Also towards the top, right on the right side of the carriage arm, towards the base, you should have about another 2.5 clearing. That is about an estimate of where it should be, and if it wasn't, you would move the sensors to the proper position. Y sensor on the bottom as well. 2.5, and that is servicing our X and Y sensors.